me. Find a real comfortable place in your seat. Lock into your comfort, right? And when you find that comfortable place, I want you to trust and close your eyes for me. Close your eyes for me. I want you, once you have closed your eyes and once you have found that comfortable place, I want you to think about all the titles that you have. All the titles that you have. See yourself in that title. For some of you, you're going to think about the title in your family. Others, you're going to think about a title maybe at work. Others are going to think about a title in a profession or maybe an organization you're a part of, right? So I want you to see yourself in that title. Once you see yourself, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. How'd you get that title? How'd you get that role? What does that title and what does that role mean to you? What does that title and that role mean to the people around you, your family and your friends? The last thing I want you to think about before you open your eyes is, what happens when you get a title you didn't ask for? Or you get a title you don't want? Or you get a title you wish you could give back? All right, open your eyes and come back to me. I want you to keep those titles in mind as we spend our time together today, okay? I want to introduce you to a few of my titles. Father, yep, I got two little people. You got little people, you know it's a different kind of lifestyle. It is. They don't care about what you do or what you got going on, right? It's really all, it's their world. It's their world. I have an 11-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old daughter, and whatever, it's their world. I'm a husband as well. My wife and I have been married. I don't think she's here yet. I think it's 16 years in a couple months. Trust me on that. I think it's 16 years. I feel confident in that. I'm a son, right? I'm actually the only child to my mom and my dad, so that's an experience in and of itself. As I told you before, I'm a mental health counselor, which is a really big part of my life and my story. They call me Dr. Davis sometimes. I got a PhD in this counseling and psychology thing. I'm a professor, as I told you all before. Now hold tight. This next title is the most important one of all, so stay with me, okay? I'm an amazing basketball player. Like amazing, really. I will say that the only person measuring how amazing I am is me. That does not come from external resources as an internal thing, right? Me and my friends, now we play in what we call the old man league. We play in the 30s and ups and 40s and up. Those like 18 to 20-year-olds, nah. Not jumping on the court with them. These are my titles. Remember, I asked you about your titles. I want you to keep that in your mind as we spend time together, okay? I'm imagining that with those titles, I asked you how you got them. You probably chose most of those. You probably chose them, and they probably have some meaning, right? You probably picked them. It's probably your decision to do those things. And then I ask you to end our time in our guided imagery about what about when you get a title that you didn't ask for, you get a title you don't want, and you get a title you want to give back to whoever gave it to you. That one was mine. Cancer patient, multiple myeloma. I didn't ask for that. Me and you didn't ask for that either. We'll talk a little bit about caretaker today as well. When you became a caretaker, you probably didn't ask for that either. You step into that role because someone you love needs you in that moment. So I didn't ask for this title. I want you to pay attention to that says former cancer survivor. And as we spend time together today, I'm going to put out a hypothesis that surviving has a role, but I'm not sure that role should be a lasting one, right? So I'm going to put out there former cancer survivor. And what I hope to be now is a current cancer thriver. And we're going to spend time together today explaining what that is, okay? So moving from survivorship to what we can determine is thriving. So I guess I'll tell you about my story. How we get here. They say pictures are worth 1,000 words, so I said, hey, why not say this through images? In September of 2020, my family and I, we're in Texas, we took a trip to Galveston for a quick weekend and drove down, had some fun at the beach. But that that entire month, my stomach was causing me problems. And it didn't go away while we were in Galveston. I will say at that time, our youngest was 1.5. She was sick. I blamed her. I said, yes, that's a problem. That's a problem. I don't know about your parents, but when kids get sick and then it transfers to you, it feels like it doubles down. It went from here to you and got stronger, right? So she's back doing cartwheels and I'm laid up for 2 weeks, right? So I thought, oh, this stomach issue is just her getting me sick. This is in the beginning of September of 2020. So you all know what was happening in 2020, right? Were you here for it? You with me what was happening, right? Okay. There's a reason some of you have on masks now because of what happened in 2020. So that happens. We get back to town. My stomach issues do not improve. But however, not to be too graphic, I was having a lot of nausea and stomach pain, but there was nothing going on as vomiting or in the restroom, right? So there was nothing going on besides these stomach issues. I took 2 days off from work, and my wife raised a red flag. She's like, "You're not going to work?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't feel good." That was a red flag for her. I'll tell you this, and I still to this day strongly believe the most important part of my cancer journey is that I go to my primary care physician every year for my checkup. I go there every year for my checkup, and I have been pretty fortunate to be a pretty healthy guy. I never forget the day, it was September 30th of 2020. I go and see my doctor. He's like, "Hey, Damion, what's happening?" And I said, "Oh, doc, I'm good, but I got this stomach virus that won't go away." He says, "Oh, how long have you had it?" I said, "About 3 weeks." He was like, "Oh, viruses at the most should last you about 3 days. If you don't feel better, I want you to come back and we're going to do maybe some stool samples, something to figure out what's going on with you." I said, "Okay, bet. Sound like a good plan to me." That's September 30th. 2 days later, on October 2nd at 7:59 in the morning, my phone rings and my doctor calls me. And when I said hello, and he said hello back to me, I knew there was a problem. Because he doesn't call me. His staff calls me, right? He didn't call me. He said, "Hey, Damion, I have no idea what's going on, but you have to go to the emergency room right now. Your kidneys are failing." I said, "Okay. Gotcha. Take that in." He said, "In fact, your numbers have shifted so much in a year," because remember what I said, I go every year. "They've shifted so much in a year that I sent my results to the hospital and sent it to a nephrologist to double check my work. And the nephrologist said, 'Hey, yes, he must come to the emergency room immediately.'" I said, "Okay." I have to throw myself under the bus. I didn't go immediately. I know. My wife is not a cursor, but if she could, that would have been the day. I went to work and saw one of my clients because it had been a hard time getting them that session. And then I canceled the rest of my day and went to the emergency room that they were already ready for me. Let me throw in there too, again, this is COVID, right? So we're at a time in Texas where you are allowed one visitor a day. Not one at a time. Like you had one visitor and they left at 4, your visitation was done for the rest of the day. I go to the emergency room. I am 36 years old. They are testing me for kidney issues, something they call a kidney injury, right? And basically a kidney injury means, hey, you've done something that has damaged your kidneys. My nephrologist, who's still my kidney doctor now, was so amazing. He was like, "Damion, I am trying my best not to put you on dialysis because this doesn't make sense to me. You're 36, you don't smoke, you don't drink, you've never had any serious medical issues. Why are your kidneys failing?" They do all kinds of tests. I am in the hospital on day 6 in the hospital. They said, "Oh yeah, we're going to do a biopsy on your kidneys, and we're also going to do one on your bone marrow, and we wanted you to talk to the oncologist." I pause. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I know what an oncologist is. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't you talk to them? You said something wrong with my kidneys. Of course, it's COVID, so the doctor's not there. She calls me on the phone and says, "Hey, you have symptoms of something called multiple myeloma. It is a cancer of your bone marrow, and the only way for us to confirm it is to do a biopsy of your kidneys. So when you go in for your biopsy of your kidneys, we're going to also do a biopsy of your bone marrow as well." They do the biopsy of both parts of my body. A day later, they come back and confirm, bam, it is multiple myeloma. What just happened? Whole world turned around. Thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely did. Everything changed. That is day 7. I spend 9 days in the hospital. On day 9, I get my first shot of chemo. I will say this part because it still kind of annoys me to this day. When I got my first shot of chemo, it was Velcade. I don't know if you know what Velcade is. If you don't, blessings to you. I don't want you to know what that is. I am convinced that Velcade should be like one of the Infinity Stones in Thanos' Gauntlet because it is that evil to me. It's beautiful, but it's evil. It is a shot in your stomach twice a week. It changes so much about you. Here's my gripe. When I got home on that 10th and 11th day after getting my first shot of chemo, I started feeling worse. And so I thought this cancer has gotten worse. This is trouble. No one informed me that this is a side effect of chemo. So I'm at home looking at my wife like, I don't know what's happening here. And that was the first one. And then other chemos were added on. The one called Revlimid. This first picture is when I'm at the hospital. Of course, it's COVID. I had to come. They gave me permission to come outside to see my dog, so I had to see him in a week. That second picture is me getting my blood pressure taken before taking Velcade. That third picture is yay, remission. Remission within 6 months from diagnosis of multiple myeloma. I am a naturally thin guy, and I've always been. I don't know if you can tell in that third picture. I had lost 30 pounds in that picture. As my grandmother would say, boy, you can't afford to lose nothing. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. But in that picture, that was my situation. That fourth picture, I absolutely love it. My wife hates it because she says she looks weary. And I'm like, that's just speaking to our moment in our existence, right? That was me checking into the hospital to start stem cell transplant. That last picture is getting the port put in because of my 19-day stay in the hospital for the stem cell transplant. I want to share my story so that we can talk about the thriving part. Once I got to this part, people kept telling me, you're a survivor. You're a cancer survivor. You mean the stem cell transplant. You're a survivor. You're a cancer survivor. And I have been told that at times I can be contrarian, and at times my thought and my patterns of thinking may be a little different too. But although they were telling me I was a survivor, something about it didn't feel right. I felt grateful. I felt an honor to fight through this thing, right? This blood cancer that I had never heard of before until I was diagnosed with it. But something about being a cancer survivor felt a little off to me. So I'm like, is this a survivor? Everybody know that dude, right? What is a survivor? Is who a survivor is? What about this one? There we go. Is that a survivor? I'm in Atlanta. We got to get this one right. I'm a survivor. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to work harder. You with me, right? That a survivor? What about this one? Is that a survivor? One of my favorite shows of all time, The Walking Dead. What is a survivor? I know it's a positive thing. It felt off to me. Dictionary said this is what it means to survive. To remain alive or in existence. To continue to live, especially in spite of danger, hardship, difficulty, tough time. Continuing to manage to get yourself through. What are some symptoms of surviving? Enduring, withstanding, persisting, not giving up. Continuing to move forward. Those last two are what concern me. Surviving can be driven by fear or necessity. If you've ever been touched by any disease, if you've ever been touched by cancer, you know what fear is. You know what that is. Surviving causes you to focus on stability and the moment. But not the moment in a mindful, positive way. It can cause you to focus on stability in, I don't know what else I got. Right? Don't know what else I got. My argument I'm going to make for you today is that I think you need all of these if you are going to survive a diagnosis of cancer. You got to buckle up. You got to lock in. You got to put on the armor. You got to get ready to fight because this thing has come your way and it is looking for a battle, right? Looking for a battle. So you need these things. But my argument today for you was that you don't, it may not be the healthiest to stay here forever. Because surviving takes you to be in survival mode. And I'm going to talk to you about what staying in survival mode does to you mentally, what it does physically, and why it may not be the best option for us. So this didn't feel good to me. Can I tell you something else people kept telling me? They kept telling me there's life before cancer and life after cancer. I think that is absolutely a true phrase. Absolutely it is true. But I'll tell you some things I noticed because, well, I live in mental health, so I like to examine people, right? I love people and picking up things. And a lot of what we communicate, not just in our words, but in how things are said. So when I would get people, doctors and everyone saying, there's life before cancer, there's life after cancer, there are three things I noticed. But one, it felt like there was a negative connotation to it. I didn't feel like, even though they were saying positive words, that what they were alluding to was positive. So there's life before cancer and after cancer. This changes my priorities, right? It switches some things up. It flips some things up, and I must focus on new things. And it can also change my identity. You can go from Damion to now cancer survivor Damion. And that may not be always the best thing. There's three things, a couple things that I know. So negative connotation. Negative connotation. There also seems to be an assumption that life before was in and of itself going to be better than life after cancer. Well, it had to be. Well, there was no other option. So whatever you had going on before, be thankful for that, because it'll never get back to that place again. That's what I noticed. I also noticed that when people say there's life before cancer and life after cancer, it seemed to be they weren't talking about the physical. They weren't talking about me mentally. They weren't talking about me emotionally. They weren't talking about me spiritually, right? I didn't get any of those things. It was just, hey, cancer ravages your body, and so that life before is going to be better. And again, that did not sit well with me. And so I'm at home. I am struggling. During this time, I was off work for 6 months. I'm Googling and figuring out stuff. I did do one good thing. I started working WebMD. I didn't go on there. I went one time. I was like, nope, I'm good. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. It is bliss. So I'm thinking to myself, there has to be something else here that I am missing, because even the stuff that I'm given that seems positive, it is coming off wrong to me. And I stumbled upon this thing called thriving in cancer. Ooh, what is that? What is that? I said, we're working on trying to shift our mindset on what life after cancer looks like. How do we define thriving? To prosper or to flourish, to develop well or vigorously, right? The elements of thriving include purpose-driven, intentional, integrative. You know what integrative means? It means cancer is now a part of my story. It is not the total book. It does not have the right to define my entire life. It does have the right for me to integrate it into these other things of who I am, right? I don't lose who I am as a father and a husband, and as I said, that amazing basketball player, because of cancer. It's now a part of the journey. It does not get to dictate and dominate the journey. It also makes things more graceful, being able to give self-compassion and grace. Can I go back to the intentional part of thriving? When I'm discussing intentionality, it means being in the moment and being appreciative of the moment. One thing that's helped me with is to slow down. Slow down. I tend to have a lot of jobs. Some I don't even need, just doing stuff. No reason, right? It has caused me to slow down. It's even caused me to slow down in how I walk. My walk changed after cancer. I used to be a pretty fast walker, and I got long legs. I just be everywhere, right? It slowed me down. Now, don't laugh, don't make fun of me. In my head, when I have slowed down my walk, I think I look like Barack. You know, Barack got the walk right, got the stroll. I guarantee I don't look like him, but that's how I feel. That's how I feel. Slowing down has allowed me to be more appreciative of everything around me. More appreciative, more grateful. I thought I was those things before this myeloma came, but when you are introduced to your mortality, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, it causes you to put a different lens on, right? So I'm like, okay, what is this thriving thing? How can that be incorporated, and will that move me from surviving, right? Why? Now, I don't want you to think I'm just out here blowing smoke, right? There's a couple things thriving is not. It's not a worry-free life. If you have concern, you get to your mission, you have concern that it may come back, your concerns are legitimate. Where we stand now, I know we are, we factor in and we're fighting against all blood cancer, but where we stand now, there is no cure for many of these blood cancers, right? There are effective treatments and amazing doctors doing amazing research. Where we stand now, there is no cure. So your legitimate concern about it returning is, in fact, based in your reality. So thriving is not a worry-free life. It's also not passive. It's not just you sit around, right? Thriving causes you to and requires you to be active, to be purposeful, to do things in a way in which you are intentional and not just letting stuff happen to you. It's not ignoring reality. It's not ignoring the reality of finances. It's not ignoring the reality of side effects to medications. It's not ignoring the reality of how cancer impacts you. It's not doing any of those things either. It's not a one-time decision. It's something you decide with every move that you make when you say cancer will not get the last say. And also, it's not only the occur remission. You can thrive before you get there. You can thrive when you're there. You can thrive after that. You can thrive when it comes back as well. There is no rule or set boundary on when you can do this or when you can attack it. So I want to put it out there. Thriving is not this hippie thing where it's kumbaya and all is well, right? It is an experience that is intentional, that can allow you to shift some of your mindset. Why is it important? It helps you to reclaim your humanity. A lot of times when you are a cancer patient, that's exactly what you feel like, a cancer patient. Your life is shaped around my next appointment, my next medication, the next thing I have to do. It's shaped around doctor's visits and infusions. It's shaped around insurance co-pays and all of those things. And that can feel like I, the human, have been lost in that process. My passions, my desires have been lost. So what thriving does, a focus on that, is help you reclaim your humanity. It helps to restore hope. One of the greatest things of why people look forward to the future is because there's a hope that something is there for them. There's a hope that something's going to be better for them there as well. So it restores your hope too. Looking beyond your diagnosis, like I said, you have a diagnosis, but is there something more than just my diagnosis? And ooh, I have been told that rebellion is something I like to do. And I can't lie and say it's not true. When you choose to be optimistic, when you choose to try to thrive in the middle of your surviving, when you choose that I am not going to act in the way that you expect me to as a cancer patient, that is an act of rebellion. It's an act of rebellion. I remember I asked you about your roles earlier, and a lot of those roles, the expectation is that you act a certain way in that role. You're a manager at work, they say you're supposed to act a certain way, right, to fulfill that role. You're a mom or a dad, you act a certain way to fulfill that role. When you are a cancer patient, there's an expectation of what's going on with you and how you act. And when you choose to operate the way that is best for you, that is different from what they expect from you, you have just done an act of rebellion. Act of rebellion because you're defining your journey. Your journey is not defined by what other people are expecting of you. What are the steps to this thriving thing? You get to define your journey. Cancer is not monolithic. I remember so many people coming to, well, there was a lot of people, but I remember my mom coming to me, oh, I love my mom, but oh, yeah. My friend went through this, and this is what she did. Mom, that doesn't work for me. I appreciate that, though. I honor that. It doesn't work for me. It's because you and I have myeloma, or you and I have non-Hodgkin lymphoma, or you and I have, anything else. We can share our commonality, but it does not mean we have the same story. And that's completely okay. And when we have different stories, we can learn from each other. Cancer is not predestined. Don't, as I told you, I avoided WebMD. Don't go on there asking about life expectancy. Leave that alone. It's not for you. The internet does not define how your journey will go. It's not predestined, right? There's going to be peaks and valleys, and it's okay to have both of those. It's not idiosyncratic, right? It can be idiosyncratic. It's a very unique aspect to you. You can have two people. I remember when I was first diagnosed, I was on YouTube, and there was a gentleman who had cancer, and he was doing like 100 push-ups a day to help raise money. And I felt terrible because I couldn't get out of my bed. And he's on there doing push-ups, he's posting, he's trying to raise money for cancer, and my comparison was, oh my, I can't even get up. How's he doing that? You want to compare for peace. You don't want to compare for conflict. If you're comparing and it makes you feel worse than, like I was doing, you are comparing for conflict. Comparing for peace means, hey, I saw you go through what I went through and you got through it. I'd love to know a little bit more about your journey. That's comparing for peace. Another part of this journey, like I said, we're not ignoring reality. Face the fear. Because let's be honest, there are some legitimate fears here. Survivorship. I'll tell you this, during my journey, I never feared death. I never did. Like I said, I was 36 years old when I was diagnosed. I never feared death. You know what I did fear? That at the time, my daughter was 5 and a half and 1 and a half, and my wife and I had been married about 10 years at that time, I believe. I feared leaving them. That's what I feared. I cried 2 times in this journey. One of them was a real cry. It was kind of like I'm about to cry, but I'm not going to let you see me cry kind of thing. The first time I truly did cry is being in the hospital those first 9 days, and my wife said something that my daughter had said. And it just, I went to the ugly cry. That good one. It's a good one, right? Because it wasn't a fear about me, it was a fear about them. So we have to be honest that there are some fears here. Survivorship is one of them. Treatment is one. These chemos are rough. I got a lot of witnesses on that one, don't I? These treatments are rough. I'm going to show a picture a little later, which is one of my favorite pictures. One of chemo I took, it was Velcade and Revlimid, also known as lenalidomide. And it does several things, including peel the skin and darken the skin, right? GI issues, weight loss, all those things. These things were horrible, but necessary. Finances. It can impact you on multiple ways, right? That's fear. Because on one side, it can impact you because this is an expensive journey. On the other side, what if it impacts me to the point where I can't work? So look at that. Bam, bam. One thing went up, I need more money, and you know what went down? I don't have as much money. And I'm impacted by that as well. This was my greatest fear. And this is why I believe the surviving mentality did not sit well with me in some ways. My greatest fear was getting back to my old self. Gotta get back to playing basketball. Gotta get back to going outside. I love being outside. Gotta get back to hanging out with my friends. Gotta get back to traveling like we always did, right? Gotta get back to that. And I won't lie, there was a guilt there. We're gonna talk about that in a second too. There was a guilt there of if I can't get back, I don't want to be a burden on other people either. I don't want to hamper their journey because of my journey. You know what else I want you to do if you want to thrive? Stay connected. Friends, family, social groups, right? Stay connected. It's so easy to isolate because maybe I have shame in this moment, or I don't want pity in this moment. But there still are powerful emotional and psychological aspects of being surrounded by people who just want the best for you, right? And here's the thing too, we're surrounded by people. It doesn't always have to be about cancer. It can be about life and journey and all those things, right? Well, I add this in there as well. While I want you to stay connected, also know when to disconnect. There are some times where you need to disconnect. One of the biggest issues we have is when we try to continue to operate in the same way when the variables in the situation have changed. Like maybe before you could go 3-4 straight days nonstop, but maybe now you need to take a rest for a day or two. That's completely okay, because the variables have changed. It is unfair to yourself to treat yourself in a way where you're holding yourself accountable to the situation that used to be, because now some of the variables in this situation are different. Making an adjustment, right? Another way you can thrive, advocate. Look, wait a minute, advocate? What do you mean advocate? Advocating on a macro level, societal, right? Advocating on a macro level. We just talked about the reason LLF changed their name was because to be more inclusive of all the blood cancers. Being at an event like this, telling your story, talking about it, going out and talking to a congressman, that is advocating. Talking to groups, talking to all these different people, right? That is advocating for yourself at a macro level. At a micro level, that is advocating just for you as an individual. Talk about what you need. We have amazing doctors and scientists doing this work, but I want to tell you something. It's still your cancer. And you have to be an active member in treating it. I'll give you a quick story. When I was diagnosed, and I told you I talked to the oncologist, that oncologist became my oncologist, that got me through to remission, and then we took a short break, and then I started the stem cell transplant about 5 months later with a different oncologist, right? A specialist in myeloma and a specialist in stem cell transplants. When I got through that process, I never forget, before we did the stem cell transplant, my wife and I met with my doctor, Dr. Reynolds in Dallas, and she sat with us an hour and 30 minutes. And the reason when she was done, we didn't have a lot of questions because she was old school. She was like a professor. She had a board and she was writing stuff and drawing pictures, and she took her time and answered every question, and it was that way through the entire process. When I finished the stem cell transplant, I asked her, "Can I stay as your patient?" And she said, "Absolutely you can." That was advocated because although my first oncologist was good, I felt like my first oncologist treated me as the book said, treat myeloma. I feel like my oncologist now, Dr. Jana Reynolds, treats me with the information, but also sees Damion. And that is important. That's advocating for yourself. There's one thing I want to talk about with advocating. I don't know if you all know this, but I'm a black guy. I don't know if you noticed it, figured it out. I don't know if you see it, right? One thing when you have an identity, especially if you are a person of color, you can't leave it behind in any situation. You can't say, hey, today I'm going to the movies, I'm going to leave my blackness at home. It's not how it works. It goes with you everywhere, to the movies, to school, to work, everywhere. It also comes into the health place as well. Let me tell you why this is important for advocating as a black male, why it's important to me. Did you know that African Americans are 2.5 more times to be diagnosed with myeloma than our white brothers and sisters? That? When I was diagnosed with myeloma, they told me this is a disease and a cancer that impacts people 65 and older. I told you I was 36. I told you that, right? Did you know that black men are 2.5 more times to be diagnosed with myeloma under the age of 50 than white men are? Did you know that black women are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with myeloma under the age of 50 than their white counterparts? Did you know that black people die from myeloma at higher rates than our white friends? But do you also know that when given the same treatment on the same timeline, African Americans have the same, and some studies show higher life success rates than our white counterparts? The reason for that is access. A lot of times African Americans, they find out too late about the myeloma, right? Because of medical issues, right? And a lot of times although they find out late, they don't get the same level of treatment, but when they do, their life expectancy is the same, and some studies show longer than our white counterparts. So you can't leave that part behind. That part is important as well because we have to advocate for that too. Advocating that everyone has access, that everyone has the access to get things that they need to go on this journey. That's why advocating is important. And let me tell you this, advocating is just important when you belong to that group. You can advocate for anyone, no matter what group you're in. You can be black and advocate for our Hispanic brothers and sisters. You can be white and advocate for someone black. You can be tall and advocate for someone short. It don't matter. We can all advocate for each other. Service. Can I give back? Service. Can I give back? There's this crazy phenomenon that I believe strongly in. It's that last bullet point there for you. Whatever you need, give it to someone else. I can't explain it to you, but it'll boomerang back to you. I had some hurt because some friends didn't show up for me in ways during my cancer journey the way I knew I would have showed up for them. Once I worked through that frustration, you know what I did? It made me a better friend. Because now I know how to show up for you even more. I thought I was showing up before. Now I'm really showing up for you. And what I have seen is a deepening and expansion of other friendships because you get that thing out there and it'll just swoop back in a circle and hit you back. Give what it is that you need to someone else. Recognize the strength of those around you. Like I told you, my biggest worry wasn't me or the cancer, it was the people around me. This picture means a lot to me. I I remember once I got to a mission, you know, kids are smart, they can pick up on things, and we told my oldest daughter that I had cancer. We talked with a wonderful social worker at the hospital, and she gave us some key words to use, like, say you tell them you got a big sick, and now you're going away for your stem cell transplant, you're going to get some strong medicine, right? That's words that a 5.5-year-old can understand. So we sat my daughter down one night and told her about Daddy's journey, and her first question, the social worker had told us, they're very egotistic, so just understand that. So, okay, got you. We told her about it, and her first question was, can I get it? He was like, girl, we hope not, but you're good right now. You're good right now. We understood that. We told her about it. The next morning, I'm still asleep. She puts this picture in our room. And I didn't ask her. I didn't see it. My wife saw it. My wife asked her, hey, Sanaa, what does this mean? She said, oh, that's Daddy on top of a mountain. I don't know what you believe. I don't know what you believe. But that is something. That is something there. A 5.5-year-old can see through it. A 5.5-year-old was already teaching me how to thrive before I even knew what the word was. She was like, you see right now, I see what's coming. Right? There is no way. I'm coming from Texas. I'm licensed in Texas. I'm licensed in Georgia, and we're not going to talk about mental health. There's no way we're going to do that. As I said, we focus a lot on cancer in our bodies. Oh my, it is just as strong on your emotions. It is extremely strong and impactful on the emotions of people around you as well. It has a huge, huge power to it. These are just some of the feelings I think that we experience when we are going through cancer. And this is not an exhaustive list, just some words I came up with. Overwhelmed, anger, fear, sadness. During this time, I can guarantee you now that I look back on it, I diagnosed myself with depression. Because I was depressed during this time. Guilt, because I can't do what I normally would do. I felt guilty because I'm proud that my wife and I can parent together. However, during this 6 months when I'm sleeping 14 hours a day, she was a single parent. So guilt because of those things, right? Loneliness because no one understands it. Let me give you a quick, I can't stay long on this, but I'm going to give you a quick thing. There's something called mental health, and then there is mental illness. It's not the same things. Mental health is your life experience, right? We all get happy and sad. We all get excited and angry, right? We all get filled with joy, but also filled with loneliness, right? Those are natural parts of who we are in our existence. You know what mental health is? Mental health is when any of those things are strong enough, we have this phrase called clinical significant disturbance. It's so strong, it's starting to disturb different parts of your life, which include social, school, occupational, or any other big part of your life. So if you want to know if I'm moving from my regular mental health to mental illness, the difference is now things in which I would normally do have changed. My thought patterns have changed. I may be sad over here, but I can get through that. But depression over here won't get me out the bed. Right? So I won't stay long, but I want to throw that in there. So now, knowing that definition, you can know how cancer can impact your mental health. I am biased and I recognize that, but I'm still going to tell you, get help. I went to counseling during my cancer. The counselor went to counseling during my time. And I put the proactive. You don't have to wait till things break down and the foundation crumbles to seek help. You can do it before it gets there. Do it as it's coming. I put spirituality up in here, and I'll tell you why. It doesn't mean everyone is that, and that is completely okay, but I'll tell you why it was important for me. In psychology, we have these things called risk factors and protective factors. A risk factor is anything that a variable or characteristic in your existence that makes it more likely that you're going to experience the negatives of this thing, right? A protective factor is any variable or thing in your existence that's going to help you get through something or be protected from it, right? And what studies have shown is that spirituality has been a huge protective factor for a lot of people. For me, I experienced a lot of my faith through music. Let me be clear. I have zero musical talent. I can't do nothing. I can't sing. I can't do nothing. But I sing with the passion of as if I sound like John Legend. And I know I don't sound like Robert Legend or something. I don't know what it is. So I sing with the passion of that, right? So I experienced a lot of my faith journey through music. And what struck me as I was getting ready for this presentation was how the song that stood out for me changed during the journey. In the beginning, when cancer hit, the song was "You Are My Strength, a strength like no other." That's what it was, right? God needs sustainability. In the middle, when you get to remission, the song became "I've seen you move mountains, and I believe you're going to do it again," right? So that's the song. When you move over here to "Now I'm doing pretty well," the song becomes "I sought the Lord, He heard and He answered me." The song has shifted and changed through these times, right? That was for me. Maybe for someone else, but we can see that spirituality does show to be this strong protective factor for a lot of people. I want you to completely flip your thinking about something. Cancer, what it has done for many of us in this room, has introduced us to our mortality. We all know that one day our day will come. And that's not a cancer thing, that's a life thing. One day your day will come. Well, a lot of us, it is just a passing thought in the background. When you get a blood cancer, you have now been introduced to your mortality. And what that causes a lot of us to do is to go back into our shell, to recluse. And I want to throw out a very, very rebellious thing for you, right? I told you that's my word. Being introduced to your mortality should make you live even stronger. It should make you do more. It should make you be more fired up and more excited, because none of us know when our last day is, but we can say that every day that I have, I'm going to maximize it. Let it become a fuel for what you do. Gratitude. When you are thriving, you are able to be grateful. Gratitude is not the ignoring of stuff that's going on that doesn't feel good. It's the appreciation for what you do have. It's the appreciation of other things that are going on as well. There's been studies that show that gratitude increases dopamine and serotonin. Those are two neurotransmitters in the brain that make you feel real good. Make you feel really, really good. So when you are grateful for something, you're mindful for it, that becomes really, really helpful. I am convinced the most important part of this journey is being resilient. As I told you, thriving is not an ignoring of the issues. It is saying the issues don't have me. Thriving doesn't mean I'm happy every day. It doesn't mean I'm ready to do a cartwheel every day. But it does mean I have this basis, this foundation to help me get back up. That's all resiliency is. I fall down 9 times, I want to get up 10. No matter what is going on, I'm going to find a bounce back to it. I'm a strong believer that the bridge between surviving and thriving is resiliency. Resiliency. There are studies that show that kids who are most successful are not always the smartest ones. They are the ones who work the hardest. They are the ones who failed and then went back and then they put in some extra work. They were resilient, they passed that test, and it made them grow in their confidence. They have a tool that they can apply to many situations. They are resilient. Now, I told you the story at the beginning. Let me tell you a story now. This is me advocating. Well, not that last, that's just fun. This first picture is like the night in Dallas, in which I had the honor of holding one of the lanterns to represent cancer survivors. That second one is me speaking to a group of black individuals in Dallas about myeloma, right? That's that second one. That third one is me talking to a group of people about mental health. And that fourth one is just me in Hawaii ziplining. I was out there. Just out there. It was beautiful. The story has continued with my love. This first picture, that's the one that is my favorite. I am in the middle of treatment, and you may not be able to tell, but my skin is darker, but we were celebrating our anniversary. You know, the first time I had gone out, I didn't feel good, I didn't feel strong, but I still threw on some slacks and a sport coat. We went and ate a steak. I don't think I ate much of it, but it was good. That second one is us having a party. That one on the end is our anniversary last year in New Orleans. It was a great time together. And these people here won't leave me alone. Won't leave me alone. They keep rocking with me. I told you they were 1.5 and 5.5. Now they're 11 and 6. They keep bothering me. And I love it when they bother me. At first was at my birthday party. The second was at our oldest birthday. She wanted to go to Legoland in New York, so we went there. That third one is daddy-daughter dance. That fourth one is us at San Fran. And of course, you can tell that last one is at Disney. Disney, a great experience, and a whole lot of money. A lot of money. I got one more thing for you as we get out of here. The importance of mindset. Surviving and thriving is all about mindset, and there's two different mindsets. When you survive, you are in your fight or flight mode. When you have fight or flight, you are perceiving there's a threat. Really quick, let me tell you what your body does when you go through fight or flight. It dilates your eyes so it can let more light in. It shuts off energy to your gut because you don't need that when you're in fight or flight. It raises your heart rate. It increases the size of your veins to increase blood flow, right? Because why is it doing that? Your kidneys release adrenaline. Why is it doing that? Because you're fighting. You're fighting. It's doing these things to your body because you need this thing through this battle. Well, here's the issue. That's not supposed to be a long-term condition. Fight or flight should be a drop-in moment and then you move on from it. But when you are surviving, you are staying in that mode. You know what staying in that mode does? It raises blood pressure. It causes insomnia. It increases worry. This is why I don't want us to stay in our cancer survivor state. I want us to move to a thriving state. Because thriving mindset helps you recognize your strength. It increases self-capacity. And it takes quality of life over quantity. We don't control quantity of life. That's out of our control. We have a lot of control over quality. Last thing I got for you. I used to be a strong believer that everything happens for a reason. I was a strong believer in that. I do not believe that anymore. I do not. I believe that everything that happens to us has a purpose. I don't know if it has a reason all the time. It has a purpose. I don't know if there was a reason for me to get cancer 36, but I can tell you this, it has been one of the most purposeful events of my life. One of the most purposeful events of my life. It has caused me to move, right? So I want you to rethink your mindset for me, okay? When you get up that morning, that's a victory. When you take that chemo that doesn't make you feel good, that is a victory. When you go to that doctor's appointment, when you're exhausted, that is a victory. When you dare to experience joy and happiness, even though the circumstances are tough, that is a victory. When you tap into peace, even though the situation is chaotic, that is a victory. So I hope you can take this and roll with me as we go from surviving to thriving and shifting our thoughts after the cancer diagnosis. Thank you all. I appreciate you.
Wow. A big thank you to Dr. Davis. To our audience, if you are interested in sharing your story, Blood Cancer United would love to hear it. By sharing your experience, you can inspire and uplift all those living with blood cancer and their loved ones. Please visit bloodcancerunited.org where you can submit your story. Now, a few housekeeping notes before we move forward for our day. Our morning breakout sessions will start promptly at 11:15. Please note that the morning sessions and locations are listed here on the screen. Our staff and volunteers at the registration table are ready to help you should you have any additional questions. When your morning breakout session ends, please first go to the foyer right outside these conference doors to pick up your meal and then proceed back to this room. We will be eating lunch here, and we invite you to sit at the tables that we have organized by disease. If you have any questions following our sessions today, please visit our Blood Cancer United Education and Services exhibitor booth located in our exhibitor hall. We have one of our information specialists managing our booth, and they are more than happy to help answer any questions that you might have, provide information on resources, and other programs available from our national office. Lastly, I also want to draw attention to our conference evaluation form. Please be sure to fill this out throughout the day and drop it off before you leave the end of the conference. Your comments are critically important in helping us make sure our conference meets your needs. See you back here at 12:30, and please enjoy your session.